Alrighty, it's time for episode number 3. We've been playing Satisfactory, sort of starter series, beginner series stuff. In the first episode, what we did was take a quick look at how to get your base started. We kind of figured out the starting area and where we were and what resources were close by. We took a look as well at how to automate your first production line. So what do you start putting down and how do you start building things manually? And then in the second episode, we kind of took that a step further. In between episodes, we automated each of the different resources that were close to us. We had a couple of iron deposits, a copper deposit, and a limestone deposit all real close. And so we automated those production lines to make all the basics to launch our pod and do a bit of research. So we learned about research and such in the second episode as well. And we also took a look at the foundation pieces. So starting to set up a foundation for your base so that you can grid align everything, get everything sort of lined up, and we'll kind of show you a little bit more about what that means exactly in this episode. So this episode we're going to get started with... We've finished building all the walls for the factory floor that we put in place in the last episode. And in addition to that, we have gone and created a bridge here off the side of this building. And we've run it out to where we were going to build our little recycling plant that we talked about. And so this is where we're going to do sort of the starter base electrical plant, I guess is the best way of describing it. So what you can see is that I've gone and sort of squared off. I used this bridge all the way out here to kind of figure out how to line everything up with the base that's over there. So at this point, these pieces here are kind of just useless. They were just there to kind of get lined up and sort of connected to the existing base. And now that we've done that, we can go and take down this whole bridge just like that. Oh, that's funny. It put a box way up in the middle of the air. Those boxes get left behind if you don't have enough room in your inventory to kind of store everything that's being dismantled. So I'm just going to hop over here real quick and see if there's anything that I can dump off. Yeah, we can dump off some of this brush and wood and flowers. And unfortunately... the only way to get that is to actually get up there and connect up with it. So we're going to leave that there for a little bit. Maybe what we'll do is put in a few of these sections back here again. And we'll go collect that a little bit later in the episode just because we don't want to pause for too long here to go and do something that we can definitely do after we're finished filming this episode. So we got this platform is all aligned with the factory that's over there. It basically could connect up with this bridge if you wanted it to. But I've just sort of made the platform as large as possible. You can see that the metal here just kind of dips into the ground a little bit. There's probably a few extra pieces we could add in just to kind of make it really smooth all the way along. And then we ran it straight out as best we could over to this far side, and we've set up a series of these biomass burners. Now, these biomass burners are empty right now. They're just connected up to, I got 2 biomass burners to a pole, and then the next 2 to this pole, and then all the poles are kind of strung together. Makes sort of like a little mini substation, essentially. And we've got a bin here, and this bin is going to be where we're going to get our solid fuel hooked up to so that we can basically feed all of these power plants when we're ready. So the next thing that we're going to need is we're going to need to figure out here some of the spacing, but we're going to have a storage container here, and what we want is we want enough room out the back of the storage container that we can feed down to the next set of machines. But we're going to line these up next to one another. So those first 4 are going to be for the brush, the wood, the alien carcasses, and alien organs when we get them. And then we're going to have one here that will be for flowers, which don't actually go into biodegradable material, but it's definitely something that you want to kind of recycle or dispose of. And then we're going to use one for the awesome sink. So just any miscellaneous stuff that we kind of need to turf out of there and put it into tickets and stuff. And so basically off of each of these, what we'll have is we'll have a constructor feeding each one. Something like that. They don't have to be... We can be super close because we don't really need to get in between these things. But each one of these constructors will hook up to there. And then off the constructor, we're going to have another storage container. So what I want to do here is we'll line it up using the blue lines again. Give ourselves just a little bit of space. And we'll kind of set up the exact same configuration of storage containers that we had in the previous row. And we'll build some constructors alongside them. And this is the part that it's not going to line up perfect here because the constructors are just a wee bit larger than the storage bins. So the goal here is just to kind of... Oh, it's telling me I need some more materials. The goal here is just to kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the magic number. We want to just line up these storage containers with the constructors as we build them. So I'm actually going to take these down. I just was kind of using it for a bit of spacing to begin with here, just so that we could figure out exactly the distance that we're going to need away from that final storage container there. So let's head down. We'll build up a bit of the reinforced plate that we need for this, which I believe requires some more of these. And it might be, I don't know if it's the screws or if it's just iron plate at this point. So let's just head over to the craft bench here and see what we can do. It's the screws and the iron plate. So we didn't actually need those extra rods. That's okay though. They will get used, I promise. And once we're done here at the craft bench, I will show you the tool shed or the tool shop. What do they call it actually? It's not a tool shop. It's a equipment workshop. It's sort of the other crafting bench for manually crafting things. This one here crafts all of the pieces that you need to manufacture things. The equipment bench is where you build your portable miners and your chainsaws and any weapons and stuff that you want to build. They all get built in the equipment shop. So just an important piece to note. We're going to do most of this series just vanilla, so we're not going to use any mods. There are lots of mods that are out there. Some of them impact gameplay. Some of them allow you to sort of copy-paste things or blueprint things and print them out en masse and construct them en masse. For the most part, we're not going to use any of that. I'm going to try and show you how to play the game natively, and as you decide if there's mods and stuff you want to play with, feel free to add them into the mix But that's really not the point of this episode series. So we'll head back up here topside now that we've got some more reinforced plate, and we'll finish building these constructors here side by side. So to line them up, we just want to get them on that same blue line. Magic blue line. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And actually the first one here won't do that. We'll just leave it blank. So we're going to go now with a storage container. We'll line these up, kind of center it in the square here. You can see these ones here are nicer to line up because they give a 90 degree. You can tell you're lined up with the one beside it and the one behind it. So that is perfect. This one's kind of the opposite. We want the 90 degrees towards the front because we're lining up with stuff in front of us and don't want to line up with that stuff that's behind. All right. We don't really want to give recipes. We won't be able to give recipes, I guess, to all of this right at the start. And the reason why is some of the recipes, like for the alien carapaces and the alien... What the heck's the other one? Alien intestines, the alien innards. What the heck's it called? I think I've got some on me. The carapaces. And then... there's another one that's from the other lizardy thing that we fight. The alien organs. Thank you. That's the one that I was thinking of. Those ones we haven't researched yet. So for here, we can definitely set up the leaves and the wood. And I generally find that we don't need multiples of these BioMass creators, because what's going to happen here out the back is we're going to have a merger. Something like that. Is that too close or is that okay? And the merger is essentially going to go all the way down the line. We're going to have one off of each of these. Except for this last one, because this last one won't be making biomass. It'll be making something else with the flowers, the leaves and flowers. And so we'll run our conveyor belt down between each of these. And we'll leave that last one just for a little bit here. And now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to feed, I'm going to say 2 constructors here with all of that. So we're going to put a splitter here next. We'll kind of make the splitter roughly centered there. And in this square here, we'll put one constructor. How do we want it to line up here? We want it to kind of be like that. And then the second one, basically one square over. And then what we'll do is we'll feed off of the splitter like that and like that. And these guys will then go back into a merger. And so these guys here are going to take that biomass that we had and create solid biofuel. And then we'll merge the solid biofuel back together. We want the green arrow pointing that direction. And this is where we'll kind of teach you how to do the 90-degree bends. So when you do a 90-degree bend, you can see it doesn't want to really fit straight in front of the constructor, but if you go 2 spaces from where it is and you double click, essentially the first click kind of locks it in so you can look around at it without it wrecking things, and then the second one confirms and places it. Now you've got a nice 90-degree coming out of this. Oh, and we can see that we didn't center the merger on that, so let's see if we can just replace this merger here. There we go. That's nice and straight now. And then we'll have coming off of here one more. And then we'll wrap this belt around. And again, even though we're coming out further, we're going to use our mouse wheel to kind of twist it. And then we're going to go 2 spaces towards the direction we want to send this in. And now we know we're lined up right with the straight path here. And now you can also only go, I think it's 6 full squares with before you have to have another connector. So you can never kind of stretch all the way across a big chunk like this. And we'll just modify this a little bit so that it's centered. Centered. What the heck are we doing here? And so we've got a little bit of walking room in behind, and we'll connect this last one up. So now, if we head on back down here, we'll pick up that little bit of grass materials and such that we had on our inventory. And we'll drop the grass in the second one here. We'll drop the wood in the next one down. Then we'll skip 2. And then flowers will go into this one. I don't even think the flowers, we can't really make the piece that's needed for that. We've already got the recipes in there, so the only thing left now is to get electricity working for this. So what I'm going to do, we'll grab this guy and we'll kind of just go dead center of the pathway, and this guy, dead center. We're going to do the same thing that we did with the power poles for the power plant, which is connect up the first two to a pole and then move on down and hook up the next two. So those two are already connected. Our next batch is these guys, but we're not quite there. So we're going to stick one down here and we'll put one in the center here. I think that's... let's not quite go to the center. Let's see if we can go here centered like that. That's better. And then we'll kind of connect this one up here and this one up here. Those are doing the solid biomass. No power. I know. Oh, right, because we didn't plug it into this power pole. Like so. Now we should have power for these. Yes, no, yellow. Yep, stuff's moving. Good. And what I'm going to do is just head on down here. I don't know if it's finished yet because I kind of threw a whole lot of leaves in here, but let's just see if we can... Oh, yep, we were able to collect that whole thing and that whole thing and that whole thing. So that's good. We're going to reroute this if we can to kind of come out here. And we're going to run this up just so that it will, what's the best way to describe it, preload or fill that this is another quick tip here. When you're placing these anchors, at first click, you remember how I said that it kind of lets you walk around it without losing your lock on where you were running things to. If you start to look up, it will give you height to that as well. Did I not go up high enough? Or maybe I can't go any higher. Let's just see here. Maybe there's a different way to route this. Maybe we can come up. No, we're going to have to go up as high as we can. And if that's not high enough, let's see, the other thing we can build is a stackable pole like this. See if that'll work. Then we can kind of come down to here. And if we remove this last section, just temporarily, You can just swing that around there, because this is literally just to unload everything that's in that storage container there. Because it's too much to fit in my inventory, and I don't want to haul a bunch of loads back and forth, so we'll let it drain naturally on its own. And while that's happening, we're going to go over here and fill up one of these guys with all the biomass that was in that last one. And like so and like that, we are filling this guy up. Let's head on down. We'll see if we can grab at least one full load of solid fuel, because then we can fuel those generators that are there. I don't know if we'll quite have enough for it, but we'll see what kind of damage we can do. Once we get these fueled, that'll be pretty much the end of our time for this episode, so just kind of gives you an idea of what a recycling plant might look like for this. What I don't know is, or what I guess we'll find out as we set these all up and running, is I understand the logistics of this. This should burn at a much slower rate because we have a capacity for 460, but we're only producing 80. So producing 80 megawatts across this many machines should make it a pretty slow burn in terms of how fast those solid fuel bits burn out, kind of thing. And what we'll do here is we'll actually shut these guys down. I don't want to delete them necessarily. We'll take out the electricity here, the solid fuel, and let them sort of finish off their last cycle of stuff. Same with these ones. Let them all sort of spin down, and then once they've spun down, we can remove them from the power grid. Okay, so this one has shut itself off, no more power. This one is no longer generating either. That one's now dead. So as soon as these are done, we'll remove a bunch of these power poles and stuff. Perfect. So we're running off of all the biomass generators that are at the top of the hill here now. And we've got kind of a nice, cool little place to grab our fuel from that's nice and close so that we can just run down the line and kind of fill them up when they're getting low. With any luck, this will last us at least until we get to coal, which is sort of one of the first milestone markers you really want to move towards quickly. Is coal-fired power plants. And the reason for that is that once you move to coal, you don't have this reliance on having to refill the biomass generators with biomass or solid biofuel or things along those lines. You don't have to worry about having to top them up all the time and keep them loaded. which you can see for this, like for if we go out there and we start cutting down a huge chunk of forest or whatever, we'll come back and it'll take a while to process through here and create the biomass, and then from the biomass to create the solid biofuel, and then that'll all route back here and eventually fill this up. But you don't want to be having to farm trees and cut down all of the forests and stuff forever. That would really kind of suck. You wanna create a stable source of electricity as quickly as you can, just so you don't have to necessarily worry so much about how quickly you're feeding things, or how much time you're spending running around the map just to feed things. Just gonna create the rest of these plates here and see if I can speed up that one conveyor strip there that's loading loading our storage bin with the solid biofuel. Ten more to go. Five more to go. And we're good. So let's upgrade this real quick. Conveyor belt Mark 2, conveyor belt Mark 2, conveyor belt Mark 2. These are the ones that double the capacity again too. Like if we look at this, it goes from 60 to 120 resources a minute. So this now should empty out quite quickly. We can toss the rest of our stash of solid biofuel in there and just have it drain out. So we'll let that run. The foundations are in place now for us to run off of this solid biofuel, at least until we are ready to switch over to coal. And this should give us a lot of power. You could see from the power graph, 330 megawatts. I think that'll get us our first row of smelting going here in the iron factory. So with that being said, we'll shut her down for this episode. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys for one of the next ones. Thanks very much, and enjoy playing Satisfactory.